everyone and welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at technical codes when analysing media texts. Technical codes is part of media language. We look at media language to see how companies and industries and individual creators encode messages that we then decode as an audience. These creators use that media language to create signs that we then decode and take our message from. By encoding, we mean communicating ideas through signs or symbols or techniques of some kind. We then decode them in a unique and individual way through interpretation. So it is really important that when you look at these different codes that you think about the effect they have as well as what they are. And that's the basis of textual analysis in media. So let's jump into technical codes. Technical codes is just one of the ways in which media products are constructed for an audience. In the context of moving image, so things like film and television, that can include camera angles, camera movement, camera shot, and the way they are edited to then create that meaning for an audience. In print media text, this is design, layout, and features. So let's start off with audiovisual texts. There are a range of camera shots available to a director or a cinematographer to construct meaning and convey it to an audience. I'm just going to go through a few examples. But there's other examples of shots that are regularly used in lots of different audio-visual media forms and convey a certain message to an audience. Close-ups are used to create emotion and tension. As an audience, you feel involved with a character, and sometimes that close-up means that you are restricted in your view as well, which can add tension. Extreme close-ups are simply an extreme version of this. You could zoom in on someone's eye, you could zoom in on a particularly important prop or action within a scene. An extreme close-up draws attention to whatever is being focused on. So in a crime drama, if in an extreme close-up shot you see someone sliding something under a piece of paper, you assume that whatever has been slid under that piece of paper has some kind of relevance to the crime itself. It's used to highlight important things in terms of character and narrative. Long shots are quite often used to give characters a bit of context, to give you a bit more information about the character in terms of the location they are at that moment, to give you an idea of their life, to give you an idea of the people around them, or something like that. Long shots could be used to establish the workplace of an office manager by showing a busy workplace office. It could be establishing a crime scene, so you know that when your character walks out in white overalls, the context of that outfit. This can enhance your understanding of the character by understanding the information around them that makes them who they are. Medium close-ups. These are also called newsreader shots. A medium close-up is quite similar to the shot that I'm in now. It's head and shoulders, which is what you would expect a news anchor to be sat like. It strikes a nice balance between formality and distance and relating to the person who's talking on the screen, which makes you trust them. And the final shot that I'm going to talk about today is establishing shots. Establishing shots are really important for advancing the narrative in an audiovisual media text. It will show the audience where the action is about to take place and gives them anticipation, or perhaps makes them start to predict what the action will be. If the location of a drama is New York, you expect to see shots of New York, and it gives it that authenticity. They set the tone, the mood, and the feel of the piece before you get to meet the characters. If you were to watch Made in Chelsea and Shameless, you would not expect those establishing shots to be the same. And the establishing shots in something like Made in Chelsea will be of exotic locations. They could be pristine streets of high-class areas of London. They could be boutique shops or cafes, and all of this sets the tone for the kind of lifestyle that these characters lead. Okay, let's move on then and talk about camera angles. Again, I'm only going to mention a few in this video to give you an idea of the kinds of things that you can think about when looking at camera angles. The important thing when you think about camera angles is to think about the positioning of the audience. The audience is almost standing and looking from the point of view of the camera. So a high-angled shot looking at a character, so looking down at a character, is going to make a character seem more vulnerable and going to make them seem lower status. Similarly, if there's a low-angle shot looking up at a character, that's going to show dominance, it's going to show high status. An aerial or bird's eye view is quite often used in action films, and and used to film high action sequences such as car chases. It's used during moments where the audience need to see an awful lot and need to see what is happening, and also to understand the scale of what is happening. These kinds of shots are also quite expensive, so having that kind of shot can suggest some quite high production values. And finally, camera movement. Let's talk a little bit about camera movement when it comes to audiovisual media. Tracking shots are a very popular way of trying to make the audience feel involved with the action. This is often accompanied by a handycam or a handheld camera, which can also make you feel like you are literally one of the people involved in the action. You'll see lots of these tracking shots and varieties of these tracking shots in medical dramas, and they're worth looking at to see how you are involved in quick-paced, panicked action. Zooms are shots that are used carefully in a lot of media products, and generally you will not notice a zoom unless you are looking for it. Obviously there are some films and there are some moments where a dramatic zoom is required, and that's a creative choice, but generally zooms are used to slowly focus your attention on a certain part of the frame, a certain character, a certain emotion. Panning shots are used to give the audience more information about a location or a scene, and quite often they are used in conjunction with establishing shots. If you are to pan really fast, it's called a whip pan. That gives you a blurring effect and can suggest some pace and action within a scene. Tilt shots are another popular camera movement. These can be used in a variety of ways and are quite often used to slowly reveal a character or to add a sense of mystery or intrigue. And the last technical element of audiovisual products that we're going to be talking about is editing. The process of editing is a massive undertaking, and it can completely change a narrative depending on what order the scenes are constructed. The way things are edited also creates a certain effect and idea of production value. For example, this video is edited using jump cuts. That means there's no clever transitions, there's no artistic change, there's just me sat at a computer cutting out the bits that I don't like. This kind of cut has become synonymous with YouTube videos. Editing in more high-budget audiovisual productions is slightly different. Editing can also completely change the truth of what a narrative is. Let's go back to the example of Made in Chelsea. Made in Chelsea is meant to portray a group of high-flying individuals from Chelsea in their 20s. But in actual fact, a lot of those narratives have been constructed, and the editing has a huge amount to do with that. Made in Chelsea is famous for its awkward pauses, its long periods of silence, and the looks exchanged between people. But I'd be prepared to bet money that that's not how the conversation went when it was first filmed. Producers have decided on a narrative for the series or for the episode, and the editing mirrors that. So next time you're watching a TV programme or a film, look out for these codes. Look out for the shots, look out for the angles, look out for the editing, look out for the movement. Because if you took those things away, then I can guarantee that media product would not have the same effect or impact. Right, let's look at technical codes in print products now. Print products include things like magazines, film advertisements, newspapers, anything that's in print essentially. Technical codes for print media products include things like layout and design, so how the things are positioned on the page. Look at the use of colour, look at the use of font, look at the use of text, as well as the text positioning, because all of these things help to construct a narrative and meaning for this product. You'll rarely see the font for the masthead change on a magazine, and that's because the font is part of the brand, and that magazine style, right down to the colour palette it chooses and the font that it chooses, will be something that the audience expects, and they want that style to stay consistent because it is part of their brand. Look at the camera shots on a media print product as well. Are they stood with someone? What is their relationship with that person, depending on how the picture's been constructed? Has a magazine managed to get a scoop with someone pretty famous? Does their face completely fill up the page? All of these things have been deliberately chosen and constructed for you to respond to them in a certain way. Look at the lighting. Is the lighting moody? Is the lighting a particular colour? The next thing to think about is colour. The use of colour is massively important in print media products. Is there a particular colour that has been used? Is there a colour palette that can suggest an affiliation with a genre? A gritty crime drama is unlikely to use a pastel palette, whereas a poster for a teenage rom-com might. The next thing to think about is graphics. Graphics are massively important in advertising because that includes the company's logo. In the card on the end of a film trailer, the logos and the graphics can show endorsements, which adds to the film's quality as well. And post-production techniques. We all know about airbrushing. We all know about the controversy surrounding it when it comes to things like social media posts and so on. But even your Instagram filters are classed as post-production. And these post-production techniques can help create a more flawless picture for the front of a magazine. In an advert for a mascara, quite often eyelashes are digitally enhanced and lengthened. Cosmetic adverts are very good to look at for this kind of production. With print products, it's quite common to forget about the technical codes or not focus on them as much as perhaps one should. And it is important to remember that all of these constructs work just as well for print media as they do for audio-visual. And whenever you're looking at a piece of print-based media, you should really consider all of these things as well. Oh, so I know that's been an awful lot of information for the first video, but that is a quick introduction to technical codes in both audiovisual and print-based media. I hope this has been useful. If you did find it useful, then I'd be really grateful if you left a comment down below as to the kind of videos you want to see on this channel in the future. If you are taking media studies, or if you have found this or other videos useful, please hit the subscribe button to get lots more videos on all things film and media. That's all from me. Thank you very much for watching.